Thinking about using D-Star as your amateur radio digital voice mode? If so, the ICOM ID-31A Plus is a great blend of an entry-level and full-featured D-Star handheld, and one that won't break the bank. This video is the second in a multi-part series on the D-Star and the ID-31A Plus radio. It's a quick overview of the ID-31A Plus. Part 3 covers some specific operating practices and controls on the radio, and Part 4 shows how to use the programming software. Part 5 will show you how to set up a Pi-Star-based hotspot. Part 1 is an overview of D-Star as a system. If you've looked at some of the other reviews here on the Gadget Talk channel, you'll know that I've also done some reviews for both DMR and System Fusion radios that are both popular digital voice technologies that are very popular with hams all over the world. D-Star, like System Fusion, was designed for amateur use and has been around a while. The main player in D-Star radios is ICOM. Both ICOM and Yaesu are Japanese manufacturers. As you might have guessed already, the three digital modes don't work with each other's radios. While there are techniques to bridge the systems together via computer servers that run in the background, with all these systems you should probably think of them as separate and unique. The thing each of these technologies has in common, however, is that they use the internet to connect users together. The radio you're using communicates via a radio wave to a device that connects to the internet. Other similarly connected devices then retransmit your signal where they are. This means that you can talk with other hams all around the world using a small handheld radio. It also means that here in the US, you can do this with the entry-level technician class operator's license. The ICOM ID-31A Plus handheld radio is a single-band transceiver that connects with the D-Star network. It broadcasts in the 70 centimeter band, so it's a line-of-sight UHF radio. It can use its digital voice mode or analog FM signals. To access the D-Star network, it needs to connect to a D-Star repeater or a digital hotspot. Otherwise, in FM mode, it can connect to any 70 centimeter band repeater that's in range. Since part 1 of this series described how D-Star works, let's take a quick look at the ID-31A Plus and do a quick demo using a D-Star repeater using the DR mode to select a repeater and reflector. When you get your new radio, you'll have to register with a local gateway repeater. There are good instructions online and in part 1 of this series, so I'm not going to go into that again here. Just know that you have to register using a nearby gateway, and that since all the gateways are connected, your registration will be spread throughout the network within a few minutes. Register only once. Let's take a look at what comes with your new ID-31A Plus. So let's take just a quick look at what the ID-31A Plus is going to look like when you get it back home. Here's the retail packaging, just a fairly small box for a fairly small radio. It's got some of the important serial numbers and other stuff stuck on the outside, and so that's what that looks like. But of course, it's what's inside that we really care about. So let's go take a look at that. Let's take a look at the paperwork that is kind of at the top of the box. We've got some information about the voice coding. We've got an ICOM warranty registration information page. We've got a precautions page here of information, and it's in a couple of different languages, so it'd be probably worthwhile to take a look at some of those. And then it's got the basic manual, and the basic manual is pretty good. It's got drawings, charts, steps and information that you might want. As with other radios of this type, the manufacturers also have an advanced or secondary manual available online, and that's the case with this radio as well. So if you go to the ICOM website, you can download an advanced manual that covers some of the other features of this radio that are not included here in this basic manual. The important part of the packaging is the radio itself. So here is the ID-31. It's got the D-Star label, ICOM up here at the top, and it's got the various buttons that you're going to be using to do programming and reflector selections, plus this four-way switch with a select button here in the middle. On this side, you can see the push-to-talk. There is a slot here for an SD card, which will enable you to update, for example, the repeater listing that this radio uses to, along with its GPS, to tell you where the nearest repeater is. The battery here I have mounted on the back already. It just snaps out with these two little clips and folds out. It's got a nested knob here on the top. So each of these does a different function depending on what you've got it programmed to be. And then below this label where it says GPS, the GPS receiver is mounted right in there. Now in the top you see the antenna fixture, and the socket end of the antenna is on the radio. And so it'll be important, if you choose to use some third-party antenna with this radio, that you get the antenna that has the plug side in the antenna, because as I said, the socket side is here in the radio. Next is a bag that includes the belt clip and a wrist strap for the radio. The belt clip just snaps in to the little fixture that you may have just seen on the back of the radio. And then the wrist strap, of course, will just slide into one of the little receptacles there on the radio, so you can loop it through and use the wrist strap to give you some better security while you're using your radio. Here is the antenna. Okay, this is a single band radio. It's the 440 or the 70 centimeter band, and so it's got the appropriate antenna. And then you can see in this particular antenna, the spike end or the plug end is here in the antenna, and that just screws in on the top. And then last but not least is the wall wart charger. And it's got a little plug here on this end that goes into the side of the ID-31, and it just plugs in. Now, one of the things that I'm kind of disappointed with is that on these radios, especially when they get up to the price range where these radios are, is that they don't come with a charging cradle. There's a charging cradle available for this radio, but it's not inexpensive. So it would plug into this, and then you can just drop your radio into the charge cradle, making it easier than uncovering the hole for the power and then plugging this little guy in. So that's, to me, is one of the shortcomings, but the cradle is available, and it may indeed be worth the cost to you, especially if you have a handful of various handy talkies and you want to keep them straight and want to make sure that you keep the right charger available for the right radio. So that's what's in the box. Okay, so there are a number of buttons here on the faceplate of the radio, and several of them have more than one function. You can do those functions by either using a short press or a long press on each of the buttons. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on them right now. They're described in the instructions, but just to give you a quick overview of what's going on. With the radio on, you can press the menu key and get into the main comprehensive menu, or you can long press on it and it'll lock the keys, go into the lock mode. This key, FM DV, will let you change modes between FM and digital modes. A long press will open up a scanning menu. This obviously is the power button down there. The V megahertz screen has a couple of functions as well. In the VFO mode, you can push it to select, a 1 megahertz tuning step. You can push it to select the VFO mode, for example. And then if you're in a menu and you're making some spelling choices, a little clear button will be a backspace. The MCall button is next there on the list. And the memory call button, if you push it, it will open up the memory selection mode, and if you push and hold it, it will enter the select memory write mode. So some shortcut ways into some of the menus. And then the quick menu mode, again, depending on what mode you are in, will provide you with some secondary menu choices that are related to the mode you're in. So the menu choices in DR mode are going to be different than in VFO mode and so forth. Now, the rocker panel here in the middle has some buttons on it as well. So the CS, think of that as the call sign key, and you can use that to manipulate some menus. Same thing with the CD. The CD key is the receive call sign display key, or call sign display, that's what CD. A long press on the DR key will take you into the DR mode. A short press will, in the menus, allow you to move up and down. Again, in the menus, you can move left and right using the CD and the CS buttons. And then the top button, the RX-CS button, is the RX call sign capture key. And so that little arrow pointing to the CS indicates a capture. And so if you are in the DR screen, menu screen, or a quick menu screen, you can move use that key to move up and down the menu. Or if you hold for 1 second, you can capture a calling station's call sign. And that's explained in some of the call sign routing instructions that are in the instruction manual. So those are the control keys that you're going to be working with here on the face of this ICOM ID-31A Plus. There are a couple of initial setup things you'll need to do first. So when you first get your ID-31A Plus, plug in and charge the battery. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is to insert the radio's SD card. And the SD card is located over here. Again, you're just going to open up that and then put the SD card in the slot. And the diagram shows you, how to do that. Keep in mind that with the micro SD cards, if it doesn't slide in easily, you probably got it the wrong side up. So it just goes in there pretty easily. Then you're going to go to the menu key, and let's walk through these menus just real quick. We'll go all the way up to the top. You can set the duplex and the tone, scanning, voice memos, all that kind of stuff, DV memories. We're going to go back there and here in just a minute. And so basically all of the major commands you can access through this menu, but we're looking for the SD card. And so now with the SD card, we can set that, and then we've got choices that we can do. And so we'll scroll through that. Now, if this is your first time with your SD card and the SD card is empty, you're going to want to format it. So you would pick the format command and format it. It's best to format it in the device because the device is going to put the basic menu structure on the SD card when it formats it. The unmount command is for when you're going to remove the SD card and you can't turn the radio off. I don't know when that would be, but for most cases you're just going to turn the radio off and then remove the SD card. But that's the unmount command. I'm going to press the left button to go back. I go back into the SD card. I can go back up. And so one of the first things you're going to want to do then is go to the Save Settings, and you're going to select that. You're going to go through those menu choices and save the current settings brand new on the radio. Save that entire database to the SD card. At that point, you can turn the radio off, put the SD card into your SD card reader on your computer, and then save that setting in a safe place. that way, with all of your experimenting and all of the things that you might be doing with your radio, if you get it all messed up, you can simply go and reload that basic setting file, and you'll have the radio as if it were just coming out of the box. Now, the import-export command allows you to bring those settings into the radio. With the software video I'm going to do, I'll talk a little bit more about bringing in new repeater lists, updated repeater lists, new memory lists, and so forth. But we would use the import command to bring them off the SD card and then get them into the appropriate file folders in the radio itself. And so there we are with the SD card. That's one of those first things that we're going to want to do. The next thing we're going to want to do is to complete the My Station entry. But with My Station, you're going to go into there and you're going to type in the My call sign, and I've already done that. My call sign is Alpha Alpha 7 Juliet Mike. I make those changes here with the knob and then go back and forth with the CS and the CD. And then I can also then put a short message after the slash. So in this case, I put my name. I could put my radio, ID-31 there if I wanted to. And then you notice that there's a number 2, and that is you could put that in there in case you're going to be sharing the radio with another licensed ham. They could put their information in so that when they're on the D-Star network, they're being identified properly with their own call sign. You can also enter a text message, and so I've got that off right now. The text message that I have in there, if I want to turn that baby on, let's do that. I could select Jim from Phoenix as my text message. That goes out when I choose that. And again, the middle button, the blue button, if that's what I wanted to do. For now, I'm going to leave it off. So those are some of the basic things that we're going to want to do. Let's look at a couple of memory-related things because that's going to be what you're going to be doing when you're ready to actually use the radio. So let's get ready for that. With those complete, you're ready to get on the air. If you're familiar with D-Star radio operations, the repeater lists and reflector-oriented commands that make up your UR commands are available via menus, and you simply select a repeater from the list and select and link to a reflector or other distant repeater using those commands. If you're not familiar with D-Star radio operations, please take a look at the next video in this series where we'll go through using the handset to program some of your call sign memories, some favorite repeaters, and set up your hotspot frequency on the radio. Okay, so let's go through the process of getting ready to talk on a repeater or, for a hotspot for that matter. So we're in the VFO mode right now, so we can press the DR button and hold it. And I go into DR mode. You see, you can see that because it's got the from and the to. We're going to go to the from, and we're going to look for the nearest repeater. We want a digital repeater, so we'll pick that. The radio searches. Found my hotspot. If we were going to connect to the hotspot, I'd pick that. Otherwise, I'm just going to pick a different one than the one that was listed there, just to go through it with you. So we'll pick the surprise repeater. So that has now set our RPT1 to surprise. Now we'll go the up button or the RxCS button to 2, and we'll select the 2. Now, if I just wanted to talk on that local repeater, I could select local CQ, and I'd stay there. I can go for a gateway call if I want to go through the process of selecting a repeater somewhere else that I want to talk to. I can go to one of my Your Call Sign channels, but in this case, I'm just going to go to a reflector. And so here I have my various UR commands. So I'm going to go for repeater information. That's the repeater information for surprise. We'll press and see if I get anything back. I'm in the house, so sometimes my connections aren't very good with this little rubber ducky. And it didn't come through, so I'm not connected, but that's okay. It's the process we're looking at. Again, go to use reflector. I can use my knob to change these if I want to. So I could go to echo test, select echo. In this one, it goes right to the 2, and if I press and talk on echo test, I'll get that response back. And so let me turn the volume up. Again, I don't think I'm connected because of where I am in my house, but we'll try it. Alpha Alpha 7 JM echo test. JM echo test. Okay, so I got that through. There was a little bit of that R2D2, which means I'm at the outside range, and so that's good. So we'll go back here, and we'll go again to reflector, and then if I wanted to unlink the reflector that's currently on that repeater, I'd issue an unlink command. Then I could issue a link command to one of the other reflectors. And so I've only got one listed there. And I'm going to get up to 5 listed there. And so the last 5 reflectors that I've transmitted to are going to show up here below the direct input. If I go to direct input, then I can use the knob to change, roll through the numbers, and make another selection. And then I'm going to go up here to use reflector and select that. And so with that reflector, the thing I want you to notice on this is that it says use reflector, and then it says CQ, CQ, CQ. So that's the command. So when I go through those commands to see what the information is, to see if it's linked to another reflector already, if that's good enough for me, I can just go to use reflector and make the call. If I want to unlink it, I'll make my comment to the repeater and say, hey, is anybody using this right now? Do you mind if I make an unlink and link to a different reflector? Then I would use the link command, link to that different reflector, and then I would move to the use reflector in my 2 here. So I would have the CQ, CQ, CQ listed. So I'm making all those changes with this little twisty knob. The radio's GPS function and repeater lists make for easy selection of nearby repeaters. This becomes especially handy if you travel a lot and enjoy spending some time with your ham radio when staying at a hotel or a friend's place. You don't have to program in a bunch of channels for each city you happen to find yourself in. This is pretty cool. As I mentioned before, this is ICOM's entry-level D-Star radio. However, it is packed full of D-Star features and should not be assumed to be a second-tier radio by any means. In fact, the big difference between this model and the ID-51A Plus is that the ID-51 is a dual band receiver that includes 2-meter transmitter too. They both include fast data modes, terminal and access point functions, repeater search, and many other D-Star functions. Now that's not to say that the ID-51A Plus is just a larger version of the ID-31A Plus. It's not. It has other functions that some will find very interesting. I'm just saying that if you're budget limited, the ID-31A Plus is a good choice to explore the D-Star digital mode without feeling like you're missing out on something. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please click on the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. 73s, and thanks for watching.